And
it says
now we're not in the same spot.
huh?
And now we're not in the same spot.
No, we're not. At least you're not.
No. Have I talked about that on the
No.
podcast? I don't know.
Last time we talked was like January of last year.
On the podcast? Like of 20. Okay, no, so I was already here. We just hadn't. I was like freshly here.
But you didn't mention anything about moving.
Did I not? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I moved. And then I got a house. So, um,
You're an adult.
yeah, yeah, we're adults now. But it's cool. I have my space now, and we're been here for about officially been here a year now. So that's good.
Yeah, definitely.
But it also means that you and I are now on opposite sides of the world.
Yes. Like in
So
bumfuck and I'm in oh shit, I passed that, marker. So
you're where you end up when people say if you pass this, you went too far.
yeah, pretty much. And you're like, oh fuck, I gotta turn around.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So not opposite sides of the world, just opposite sides of the city.
Which is weird, right? Because you think San Antonio is not that big, but it takes an
No.
average of about 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, from me to you, it's almost an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm also technically not in the city anymore.
Well, I mean, neither am I technically. Well, actually, the next light over from where you would turn into my house,
Yeah.
that's where the city stops.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on the border of like two counties. So
Wow.
yeah, it's been it's been interesting and also why we had to take a little bit of a break. I think last time we were recording at your place still, I was at my last I also had a new job. So from last time we were recording, so
Hmm.
I was at my old job. We were in the middle of the move. Everything was hectic and had to take a little bit of a break again. On Ever since I graduated college, it's just been like big change after big change. So it's been a little interesting.
But it's called adulting though. That's the thing, you know?
Yeah, I know. I just didn't think it would happen that quick. Oh, well, I mean, I'd say that quick. It's been 4 years since I graduated now.
Have we
Three,
actually
three
been doing this
years.
for no, have we been doing this for that long?
Well, I graduated in 21. So 3 years, almost 4 years since I've graduated. And
Man,
then I was in my second semester when I met you. So almost like 6 years of you and I working together.
and we still can't get our shit together.
Apparently not. No, we're getting further and further apart.
I love it. I love it.
Started in the radio station, moved to your place. You moved places. Now I've moved places, and now we're stuck on Zoom.
Yep.
But this might be the new norm. Who knows?
Hey, if we could make it a norm, I'd be happy.
I'd be happy with having a norm.
Yeah,
I
no
think
matter
is
what it
the
would be, just having a norm would be badass.
having a norm would definitely be good, especially with uh I don't know, just trying to record something, film something, get something off the ground. I know me and Hannah have had talks outside of like off mic and over the last like month or so. I think
Yeah.
we met up about a month ago, a little over a month ago, and started talking about getting things off the ground again, at least with our little group. I don't know if that's just what Silent Flight looks like now, but
Well, I
or
mean,
for the moment.
I don't know, because I mean, there's big changes. There's been changes to Sci Flight.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get into it on the podcast. It's not a place for it.
No, no, no,
Um,
no.
but we did finish another feature, and we're in post on that one. But I know you weren't around because you were in between jobs, and then I know you said you got COVID and all that.
Yeah, I know. And I think you were filming on that, I
Yeah,
think
and then
when I think I got, I was like in the span of the month, switched jobs, got COVID, went on like mini vacation that had already been planned for like a year almost.
Yeah.
So just like everything was back to back. And in the middle of that's when you were telling me like, yeah, no, I'm on set. I was like, oh, well, I'm not in the country. So
But you know what? I will say we've gotten better because we shot it in 3 months, a total of 19 days.
yeah.
So I'm impressed with us. We're still in post production,
And
but hopefully we won't last 3 years in post production.
and reshoots? Question mark?
No, no reshoots. We've had pickup shots, but only
Okay.
because we needed to kind of polish up the story and kind of tighten
Yeah.
it up a little bit. But outside of that, that was it, man.
Hey, compared to Sacred Master, we had to reshoot half the film. That
Yeah,
was
dude, don't.
big step
Yeah,
up.
man. You know, I'm still disappointed with Sacred Mass, but I'm gonna leave that alone.
Hey, we premiered. We had two premieres really. We had our
Yeah,
private red carpet and then
the
seen it
world premiere at Cine Festival. Yeah. Yes,
exactly.
you.
So I
Yeah,
think
thank you.
yeah, I think it was good. I think it was a good outcome for what we went through getting it done.
Yeah, it's just I wish there was more for it, but where it's at right now, it's like it's okay.
Yeah.
It'll
Ugh.
find its niche. I mean, LVZ found its niche, so Sacred
Yeah,
Mass
for
will find
sure.
its niche
It and you built it for it to have a niche, so it'll be there.
one day. Well,
But
anyways, enough about that. You want to bring us in, man?
yeah, no, I mean, I hit you up because I wanted to sit down and talk about two of the, well, I wanted to talk about two. You have only seen one of them so far, of like the bigger films, at least for me
I've
this
seen both of them.
summer. Oh, you saw both of them already.
Saw both of them. But before we keep going on, man, because we always do this to ourselves. I guess welcome back, film news.
That's what you meant by bring us in.
Yes.
I forgot that that was a thing. Yeah, no. Welcome back to Film Noobs. It is episode who the hell knows.
No,
Um,
yeah, we lost track.
but it's I'm AJ, still here,
I'm
clinging on.
David.
But yeah, no, it's been a little while, but we're back, and I wanted to come back and get back on the mic just because it's been a busy summer of movies.
Yep.
Um, and for me, there were two that were at the top of my list, and it was Deadpool and Wolverine and Alien Romulus, which in all honesty, Alien Romulus, I wasn't sure about until I saw the trailer because Prometheus and Covenant were
Big letdown.
eh.
But you know what? Okay,
But
I will premise everything real quick because I'm like every time we get back together, it seems that we're covering movies that we hate, and by movies that we hate is if you ever go back to the original podcast, I think it was the first or second podcast we ever did was remakes, reboots, and relaunch.
oh yeah, I think that's literally episode two.
Yeah, and we just dissed on him and everything. Yet everything we always come back to, everything that brings us back to doing podcasts is a movie that would just like either irk us or like, yes, this is it. And so hopefully it's one of those.
So I guess because we haven't had a chance to talk about either of those movies, is are you prefacing how you kind of felt about Alien and or Deadpool?
Alien. Well, because
Okay,
okay, I'm a big Alien freaking fan, especially Alien One.
right.
I love the audio design or sound design for Alien One, and only because it was not a horror film. It was a sci-fi film with great moments that yes were horrific, but it wasn't a horror movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was more suspense than anything.
Yes. And well, anyways, we'll talk about it once we get there. But it was more the fact that that's at the top of my list is Alien. You know what I mean? That's like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
top
I mean,
two.
we can just jump into Alien if you want to jump into
Well, let's
Alien.
let's jump in. Let's do it.
Because I mean, but well, like you were saying, because your top of your list is Alien, and when I got a hold of you and I said I want to sit down and talk about it, I told you it goes back to Alien 1 and 2, at least in terms of the vibe and aesthetics and everything, compared at least to the last two movies that we got. I think it's a lot more true to the original Alien than Prometheus and Covenant, at least.
I will say it picked up where, because there was a part where it blatantly said, we had to shoot the original crew of seven,
Hmm.
fought off an alien, and we had to shoot it off. And then we tried finding it, and we found it, and we thought it was dead. So it kind of tells you that yes, this is picking up right after,
Yeah, it's
that.
between one and two. Yeah,
Yeah, you know what I mean. So it's pretty much telling you yes, we're picking up from there instead of like, oh, back in whatever, or future so many thousands of years, eons from now. But so yes, in that perspective, yes, it involves one and two.
but so do you not think that it's a good like return to the Alien like main timeline? I guess. I mean, I think the sets and like it feels like the original, like the first Alien. At least watching, like
It
aesthetically and with the sets and everything like that.
it felt tangible. Yes.
Yeah.
I like the little callback of the little dipping, you know, bird while they're talking at the
Oh
very.
yeah.
So I was like, okay, so they're calling back, Alien One, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of it felt tangible, like it was there. You know what I mean? And that's one of the
Hmm.
things that when you go back and you see Ridley Scott, it's like, dude, his sets were tangible. You could tell they were closed off. You could tell they were like there. Um, and so yes, you're right. There was a lot of that here. Oh, when the computers were clicking and clacking, you heard it. You heard, the little sound designs for that. But I just felt it was more aimed at a horror film than a sci-fi suspense film. And that's really what kind of drove me away from it.
So is that your biggest gripe with it then? That it's more of a horror film than anything?
Yeah, dude, the jump scares and the music really just go ahead.
No, no, no. I will say like there were two times in the movie where I flinched. And one of them I was kind of ashamed that I flinched because I should have seen it coming.
Yeah,
Because it was perfect. It was like set up perfectly where it's like, oh, there's a jump scare coming, but I guess I was just so locked in because it was like the last like 30 minutes of the movie. I guess I was just so locked in at that point. I just ignored all the signs of like something's about to jump out at
yeah.
you. And so there was two right at the end of the movie because I went the whole movie. I'm like, okay, it hasn't gotten me. Yeah, like there's telltales, but like in the last 30 minutes, I was like, okay, that's twice in a row. One of those, I'm actually kind of pissed off that I jumped. The last one, I'll take it because are we doing our normal thing? Are we just going full spoilers right off the bat?
If you
The
haven't seen it and you expecting us not to have spoilers, and you've never listened to us before, yeah, too bad.
Yeah, if you haven't, yeah, we don't. Yeah, we just go full spoilers right off the bat. Um, The Offspring. Uh, right when she's I guess when she finally kicks him off the ship and cuts the wire or whatever, however she drops him off. He jumps out as she's climbing up the rope. He jumps out at the last second, and that was the last one that got me. And I was like, oh, I really should have seen that. Like there was no way it was that easy that she got rid of him that quick. But no, I didn't see it coming.
Another thing, I was like at first with the android, the way
Mm,
he was portrayed, that he was, all fumbling and everything until he got the upgrade. And then I was like,
yeah,
okay, now he's just like almost lost his humanity, kind of like,
hmm,
you know what I mean? And I was like, I don't know if I'm buying into it so much because I like the fact that he was broken before,
yeah,
but I know why they fixed him because otherwise they couldn't do what they did. You know what I mean? So it's almost like a cop out to me.
yeah, because
I was,
they needed him to be the super robot for at least a little
yeah,
bit.
you know what I mean? And I was like, come on, are we really gonna do? Why just leave him broken? Just it's okay.
Yeah,
That
or at
way,
least have him keep the old programming in the sense of like at least have him a little conflicted, not completely lose his humanity immediately.
yeah. I mean,
Because
or have him glitch back and forth or something. You know what I mean? To where we
yeah,
see the progression of the character rather than. bam, it's gone. Now,
Yeah, because I don't think the entire second act where he was just controlled by the science officer one, or this, he was that version of himself. I don't think there was any point where he was like his old self
no,
or any of that peeked through. It
no.
was he was broken at the end. He was broken at the beginning, broken at the end, and that whole second act, he was just cold and worked for the company. And that was it.
Yeah. And even then, like when he was like, "Oh, you almost killed us," he's like, "Yeah, but I didn't. I timed it just right, didn't I?" And he just
Yeah,
walks away. I'm like, doesn't feel quite right. It feels like it's a plot device. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot of it,
yeah.
I was still kind of like, okay, aliens. I wasn't force fed a lot of the story. Well, I
Mhm.
didn't feel like I was force fed a lot of the story. While this one, I felt like there was times when, here you go, it's okay, here you go,
Yeah.
and I
Okay.
was
Yeah, I can
walked
see
through
that.
some of the points, and I was like, come on, man, let me just enjoy aliens, because again, I'm used to having a movie like Alien, like you said, suspense. I want to be in the movie. I don't want to have a moment where we stop and we're told, okay, this is next, or this is what ABC means, or whatever. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? And I'm like, okay, you know, I don't know.
How was how did you feel about the whole how they tied the Prometheus lore into this era of aliens? Because this is the first time where we're actually back in the timeline of Alien from the first movies, and we're talking about what we saw in the prequels.
I didn't see Prometheus, so I'm not.
Oh, so you never saw? Did you see Covenant?
Um, which is the one where the big aliens they pour, where you see the big aliens. Is it Covenant?
The big white dudes?
Yeah,
The that's Prometheus.
that's Prometheus. So I
Yeah,
saw that one. I didn't see the other one
you didn't
because
see Covenant.
the one where they go back into the ship and they
Hmm.
raise the ship,
Hmm.
is that Prometheus? Man,
The
I
big
gotta go
donut.
see. Yeah, the donut ship.
Yeah, that's Prometheus.
Okay, so I saw that one. That's the only one I saw.
Okay, yeah,
And I
yeah.
was
So I mean,
disgusted with that. And I was like, yeah. And even then, the HBO series one, I started, the HBO had a mini series of Alien.
oh, did they? I didn't even realize.
Yes. And I saw like the first two episodes and I was like, yeah, no.
Yeah, well, because I don't know. Isolated from like the Alien movies, they're okay because they don't feel like the Alien movies, other than this is how the xenomorph was created, I guess. But it was like they were forcing. It felt like they were when they first came out. It felt like they were forcing a lot of lore where there didn't really need to be. Like, it's an alien, just let it be an alien kind of deal.
Yeah, it should. That's
But I don't know. I guess it worked. In the sense of like they found a way to make it fit into the general storyline. Whether or not they're going to do anything with that
right.
after this, I have no clue. But I mean, they redid the whole human alien hybrid thing that they did at the end of what was the last Aliens movie? Not Aliens 3, Aliens, is it Resurrection? Is that what it's called? Something with an R.
I don't know. Um,
Um,
we're sitting in
where it's
front
like
of
the
pictures.
I know both of us. Um, it's the Resurrection where she's a clone, where it's a clone of Ripley.
Oh yeah, where she wakes up and she finds out that they've been cloning her. And
Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, as a matter of
And
fact,
so,
I remember when we said like, dude, Alien wasn't bad enough to where you have to infuse, Ripley into aliens to make them even better. So
yeah. But I mean, I even saw something recently where it was like, yes, Sigourney Weaver would be willing to go back to Alien, but she thinks Ripley's deserve to rest.
it does. Okay, you know, certain things again. This goes back to that episode we talked about. Relaunch, rehash, everything. There comes a point where you're like, you have to give it up.
Yeah.
I was watching uh it's on Netflix. It's an anime, Terminator. They relaunched
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
and I was like, how many times are you gonna send back the same plot and
Because
relaunch
I
it?
read the description of it. I was scrolling Netflix the other day and I saw the description and I was like, so is it just Terminator, like the first Terminator, but anime? No,
No, it's
is
just
or is it something different?
it's something different, but it's the same thing because they send back a Terminator to
Mhm.
relaunch the timeline, and
Yeah,
yeah, it's the same idea over and over and over. And I'm like,
yeah,
how many times can we do this? But anyways,
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, because I mean, they went back and did prequels with Prometheus and Covenant, and I don't know if there was a goal in mind for that or an end game. I have no clue. I mean, but Ridley Scott went back for those. And then this one wasn't Ridley Scott, but I think he produced it, so at least he signed off on it in a way
yeah,
and it getting made. But still, I don't know. It's one of those like, or at least I mean, I enjoyed it. I was all in on it. I know we're talking about the negatives, but I genuinely enjoyed the movie or watching it, and I went to go see it in IMAX, so I was sucked in. Um, but it's one of those where it was good and I enjoyed it. Did it need to be made? I don't think so.
matter of
But
fact, the director, and I had to check on this because I kind of remember this, is the one who did the remake of Evil Dead.
yeah, the 2013 one.
Yeah, and then he's pretty much done a bunch of horror films
Hmm.
before this one.
Yeah, he's a. I mean, we got a Latino director, which is cool. And
That's
he did
true.
"Don't Breathe," which was another really good suspense film. If you ever saw that one,
No, I haven't seen.
um, it's the one where they all break into the blind dude's house, and then they're stuck in there with him. And he's like some like ex like special forces or something like that, so he's able to like hunt them all down inside his house, not even being able to see.
I'm gonna have to
And then
watch.
it gets real weird at the end.
We might have to come
Um,
back and talk about that one.
yeah. Oh, and then he did the 2022 Texas Chainsaw, which I never saw.
Dude, I stopped watching all those Texas Chainsaw because I haven't
There's
seen
too
any
many.
of them that are worth it, even just by the single trailers. Oh, especially that one because that one was a bunch of I think it was like YouTubers or freaking
Was that one bunch of
yeah. That's
YouTubers?
the one that had a bunch of. They were all.
Interesting.
I don't know if they were YouTubers, but they were like media get people and whatever.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
They go there
Not
because
like,
they were doing an expose on Chainsaw Massacre and
yeah, I don't
yeah.
know. Well, plus the Texas Chainsaw is one of those uh franchises where after like even the second one, they just all kind of went downhill. My dream is I've joked that like my one of those celebrity dreams is like I want to meet Matthew McConaughey one day just so I can tell them that I loved him in Texas Chainsaw. Out of all the movies he's done, bring that one up
Oh my goodness.
of him screaming and throwing himself off a roof. Uh, but no, I mean, I on an overall level, did you enjoy Romulus or
It was okay. Would I watch it again? Nah, probably. I'm not
like
gonna
if
say
it's
no.
on?
Huh?
Is it it's one of those like if it's on, you're gonna watch
Yeah,
it,
if it's on, I'll watch it again. I'm not gonna
but
seek it out.
yeah.
But I thought yes, it was a nice callback um to the original like design of Alien. The
Hmm.
way it felt. Not so much the way it sounded because like I said a lot of the sound design was aimed more towards the horror side rather
Or
than the suspense, even though it's really finite. I mean, it's just like saying tomatoes, tomatoes.
yeah.
Suspense and horror kind of go hand in hand. Um, but overall, I don't know. I mean, it was a better take than I would say maybe the HBO series
Hmm.
of, of Alien, or even like you said, Prometheus or the other one, Covenant. So I mean, it's going back to Alien.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, that
think
was
the last
cool.
one we saw that was almost palatable was what Aliens versus Predators. That was pretty badass. But
I will say, out of all of, I mean, like at this point, the xenomorph isn't really. I didn't find the xenomorph like scary. Is the thing.
no,
Like it was, and it was pulling the same moves that it's always pulled. So it's like you see it in the background of the shot. You know what's about to happen. You know that tail's about to come through someone's chest. You know, like the little mini jaw is about to come out. Like it, you.
I did like the way they did it differently with that chick with the X-ray thing. That was
Oh
different.
yeah, that was cool.
That was different. Even though I mean
Yeah,
it's still the same
because you
chest
see it like
popping, but
flipping out inside of
you see
her.
the X-ray, but then you lose the suspenseful kind of again going back to the original that you didn't know was going to happen.
But I think that's kind of. I think at this point that's what you have to do. You have to just kind of put a twist on because you know like you know she's dead. You dead. Like the second
Yeah.
it went on her face, you know what's gonna happen. It's not like the first Alien where we didn't really know what we were in for. At this point, everybody knows that it's about to come out of her chest, and we know what that looks like. So I guess the X-ray was cool to see the lead up to it of it breaking all of her ribs and her all her whole rib cage and everything like that.
I will say it. A lot of the effects looked more practical than
I do know they went really practical heavy.
you know what I mean. So
Yeah,
I have to say that I like that about this one because you could have easily gone a lot more VFX heavy,
yeah.
especially because of a film like this. You'd be like, "Fuck, dude, you know how are we gonna make things happen?" But I, to me, especially the most disgusting part, I think, was the whole PP in the mouth thing where they pull
Oh,
it
you
out.
see it like
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, dude, like come on."
and see, for me, that moment was I was just to go back to it was the offspring, like the actual reveal of the offspring.
Yeah,
Because I went with a friend of mine, and the whole time we're like, like both of us are like, oh, please don't do it, don't go there, like please don't. And then you watch her give birth to the egg, and we're like, oh God, that's awful.
we saw her
But then
give
like,
birth. We've seen her
you
give
know,
birth before.
yeah, well, we saw a C-section of it. But then the whole lead up to like, okay, we know like it's hatched and it's full grown at this point, and then it like the light flashes and you just see it crouched in the corner, and I think that's the first time a movie's actually just made me go like, oh, it's like it just looked disgusting, and to find out it was a fully practical thing, the offspring. It was a 7'7" dude. Um, he's the world's tallest basketball player.
Really,
So I thought it was like Doug Jones or something like that, someone we knew as a creature actor on stilts or something. No, he's just actually built like that.
really.
Yeah, he's 7'7", just like all limbs. So it was just a full prosthetic suit that he was in pretty much, which makes it almost worse, I feel like. Because I want to meet the sick bastard that dreamt that up.
Oh,
Um,
running out of time.
oh yeah.
Already? Oh, we still got 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
But yeah, I
overall,
mean,
what's your
overall, I
rating?
enjoyed it. Uh, I mean, for me, I genuinely, I mean, what do we do? Do we do it out of 5? Do we do it out of 10? I don't remember. It's been a while since we've done a movie rating.
I don't
I
remember.
know it's in tacos, but I don't remember. Um,
Give it 5 tacos because I can't
out
afford
of,
anything more than 5 tacos, bro.
there you go. Out of five, I'll give it a solid 4. I really enjoyed it, but I don't think I have the soft spot and the nostalgia for Alien like you do.
I gotta give it a 3. I'm kind of in between.
Yeah,
You could sway me either way, depending if we're gonna catch something to eat before and put me in a better mood, or overall I'm just like I'm just feeling like an asshole dick like I normally do, and no
yeah,
matter what you give me to eat before we go, I'm just gonna hate it.
I think a lot of it comes down to I don't have the same attachment to the first Alien because I was talking about this with some family. My first exposure to Alien wasn't Alien, it was Spaceballs.
Those Spaceballs.
where John Hurt's cameo where they redo the chestburster scene and
Yeah.
it comes out and starts singing "Hello, My Darling."
Yes. Are you
That
serious?
was my
That's
first. I think that was my first exposure to Alien.
you're fired.
But I was a kid, and so like I didn't understand the reference at all. And then after that, I went back and watched Alien so I could understand.
You know what's bad though is Tiny Toons did a bite off on that with the frog because the frog would come
Yeah,
out,
yeah, yeah,
oh my darling, hello my
yeah, yeah, yeah.
just looked the same way. I'm like, wait, who's biting off who here? Are they
I
biting off
thought
the end
I
or
thought it
they
was both. I thought Spaceballs was parodying
but
both.
I know no, but I was wondering like if Tiny Toons was biting off on Alien or if it
Oh
was
yeah,
Alien biting off on Tiny Toons. I've never figured out. I'm one day I'll figure it out.
but so yeah, but okay. So I guess film noob score. I guess we'll give it like a solid like 3.5
Yeah, we'll go 3.5.
or 3.5. Split the
Yeah,
difference.
yeah, might as well.
I guess should we pause before we jump into the next one?
Yeah, because if we get started talking, and then we can yeah. Let's take a real
Yeah.
quick pause. We'll come
Okay.
back. We'll start off on Deadpool versus no shit. I forgot the name of the movie, and I saw it twice. And Jennifer's gonna for this one. Deadpool Wolverine,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
After a quick break, we reload Zoom because we're broke and we have to use the free app for it. So see you back here in like 5 minutes, man. All right, bye guys.
Yeah.
All right,
Bring
we're
back.
back.
After a quick pause, quick forced pause.
Yes, sir.
Um, and okay, cool. I'm rolling on my end. Um, cool. Uh, and I guess so. The other thing, jumping back in, was my big movie of the year. The one I've been waiting for since like, what was it, 2022 when it got announced? Uh, was Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yep.
I was waiting for this one for a long time as our resident Marvel nerd. Um, and well, you said you saw it twice, right?
Yes.
So your thoughts?
I'll let you speak on this one first. I think I overshadowed on aliens, so
I, uh, um, I freaking love this movie. I also went to go see it twice already. Um, I think it was, I will say it was an okay introduction for Deadpool into the Marvel Universe, but I think it was a great third installment for Deadpool and a great send off for the Fox universe because
question
that universe is dead.
question for you.
Yeah.
Would you say this is a Deadpool 3 movie or standalone Deadpool Wolverine movie?
I would say it works better as a standalone Deadpool and Wolverine movie. Obviously, no, like because I've heard this gripe with some people that it didn't feel like it had the same heart as Deadpool 2. And I can see that because he had a lot of character growth in Deadpool 2 that didn't get touched on in this one. And I think that's because they focus so much on Wolverines. But that said, I still think I still really enjoyed it, and I still think it was a great Deadpool film. Now him as Wade Wilson outside of the mask, yeah, they didn't really touch on a lot of things he went through in the second movie. And they really kind of ignored a lot of that, and they skated over a lot of that. His relationship with Vanessa and what that meant. I would have enjoyed a lot more time spent on what happened between him and Vanessa, and that how that relationship really kind of hit the fan, and then they so that the hint of them trying to figure it out at the end would have hit a little bit better. Uh, but who knows how much more that would have added on to an already what 2.5 hour movie.
Was
Um,
how long was it?
I
Two
think it was
hours,
about two and a
eight
half hours.
minutes.
2 hours, 8 minutes. Okay, so still
So they
not
had
the
a half
longest
hour to
Marvel
play
film.
with. They had a half hour to play with.
They had a half hour they could have played with to really expand on that. But I don't know what more they really could have said other than like because the message for him, I guess, this movie was that he wanted to matter and that he wanted to mean something more. And I guess that was her gripe with him was that he wasn't trying to do something more outside of that. But that's not who he was the entire time. I mean, he was very in the first movie, it was all about saving her. The second movie, it was about saving the kid because that's all he had to focus on because she was dead. And then this one, it was kind of like they were broken up. He was still trying to prove something to her. So it's still kind of a self-centered mission in the end of it. But so to kind of try to make the argument of like it just didn't have the same heart. I just don't know what more there was to say on that. Like that side of the story was a little bit shallower, but there wasn't much more to focus on, I feel like, other than the bigger story of him trying to matter in the grand scheme of things. But he does what he does and he makes a joke out of the whole thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean that's kind of the crux of it. Like you can't take it too seriously because then you miss the point of it being a Deadpool film, which is everything's a joke. So I don't know. I don't know what more there would have been done on that side of things. But and the other gripe I've heard with it is that why are we supposed to care about or how am I supposed to care about this Wolverine when it's like a Wolverine with a bunch of X-Men that we've never met before? It isn't though. Like I don't get that gripe. It was like we've never met these X-Men, but he's talking about Jean and Scott and Rogue, and he's talking about like everybody that we already knew. Just because it's a different one from all the movies we've seen before does not mean that those characters are entirely different. We know nothing about them and we've never met them before. It is still this. I still take it as the same Storm, Cyclops, Jean, Rogue, like everybody that we met in the 2000 X-Men. Like, and that is the mentality I went with it, even though it's a slightly different universe where they all died.
What timeline of X Men are you talking about?
There, well,
we have we have
that's why it doesn't.
Days of Future Past. The,
Yeah, everything post Days of Future Past. We
yeah.
have the first class timeline, the original timeline. But again, it's all been the same. Like they were all the same. Like even when Days of Future Past, where they reset everything and everybody was alive again. It was still them. It wasn't like
Yeah.
they like everybody was different. It was still them. I take it as it's still the same cast. It's just different events happen. So I for Wolverine's timeline, I for Wolverine's sake of the story, I think this was a great ending or second ending to his character. A happier ending than the one we got in Logan, obviously, than
But
him dying.
I liked that ending for Logan
It was a great ending for Logan.
because you finally get to see the Wolverine that most of us grew up being
Hmm.
developed. Because up until
Yeah.
that movie, I had never seen the Wolverine. I remember growing up
Hmm.
reading because I've collected every single Wolverine comic there's ever fucking published. I have like
Hmm.
fucking 30 long boxes of Wolverine spinoff, just because it was on the cover, I have it,
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
that was like late 90s. Yeah, they went crazy putting Wolverine just on the cover just so you could buy it. And dumbass
Yeah.
little David bought it, of course. Um, but it was one of those things that I never saw his character fully develop until Logan. At
Hmm.
least the one I thought or I remembered or closely remembered to, or what they say on this one's like it was a comic accurate
Oh
Wolverine,
yeah.
5'3", 300 pound. Um, but no, it was interesting to see Deadpool Wolverine because a lot of people have been waiting for this movie. Actually, most of us we've been waiting for this Deadpool and Wolverine team up since um what was it, Wolverine when they first
Oh,
introduced Deadpool and they
Origins.
killed him off. Yeah.
They did the shitty version.
Yeah, the shitty
The
version of
yeah.
Deadpool.
Yeah,
So
the
we
one we try
kind
to
of
pretend doesn't exist, and these movies reminded us of every single time.
yeah. And I do have to say, for like you were saying, a goodbye to Fox, hello to Marvel. I agree with you on that because we do need to say goodbye to Fox.
Yeah,
We definitely need to say goodbye to Fox. But how much time and effort do we play into the movies to say bye to Fox
yeah,
continuously? And I mean
yeah,
continuously. Um, that's my only gripe is like, dude, tell me a badass story and let me run with it. And I'm
yeah,
all there. Of course, I'm a big Deadpool Wolverine fan. I went to go see it twice. That's how much
yeah.
I enjoyed it. Um, this is like the second movie I've ever done that with, but um, outside of Star Wars, of course.
Right.
Um, but to me, the only one thing that I didn't like was the whole Cassandra Nova insert into like the middle of the movie because it was kind of
Okay.
like, where are we going with this? I get it, we're
Yeah,
in the Shadowlands and everything, but it's like,
yeah.
I don't know. She just seemed
It
out of
felt
place
it
to
felt
me.
like an odd intro to the character.
I
It
mean,
did, and
and
then
for her to have such a quick change in character and then change back,
yeah,
it's like, okay,
yeah. It was a weird intro to the character because she was nowhere in the first act of like setting up anything. We knew going into the everybody knew going into the movie that the TVA was going to play a part. We knew that Cassandra Nova was going to be in it. We just didn't know like what the role was. Everybody assumed she was going to be the villain because it's Cassandra Nova,
yeah.
and she ends up being the villain. But it felt like a weird road to get there. It's like she's thrown in. We're told that she kind of runs everything in the void or whatever, and then lets them go off a deal because they saved her. They save her life essentially.
Because of her brother, it's like
Yeah, which that was the one part I didn't get. I was like, why would she have a soft spot for him?
she's
Because
never
they've
had a
never
soft,
met.
she's never had a
But
soft spot for Xavier, never. She
but
tried killing him in the womb.
yeah, exactly. And but that's what they that those are the heartstrings they pulled at. And maybe it was all a bigger scheme, but they never really let on that that's what it was. I don't know. It was a weird road to get to her being the final bad, I guess.
Final boss fight.
Yeah, which I mean, even then, she wasn't really the final boss fight. She was just kind of there. She was pulling the strings essentially, alongside Paradox, who was also pulling the strings and the other side of things. So it's just they wrote this movie to be a Deadpool and Wolverine movie, essentially. Is I think the point that we're getting at this point is
It's
that
fan service.
it is
Can we
100%
agree?
for his.
Can we
Oh no, it
agree?
is 100% fan service,
All right.
but done so well.
Yes.
It is, and like, and I guess the big part of the I guess the big thing that we can talk about with the movie is like the cameos. 100% fan service,
Yes.
but they mattered. Like it was cameos that mattered. It
I
wasn't
was
just like cameos for the sake of throwing a face in there. It was they were part of the story.
I was glad some of those cameos were made, even if it was just like a nod, like
Yeah.
for example, Blade. His whole like,
Yeah.
oh, there's only been one Blade, and dude,
And they're only ever going to beat one blade.
it's like they're resetting your movie, as we speak. It hasn't been,
But are they? But I mean, like, they can't get that movie made.
yeah. You know what I mean? So it's one of the things like he's poking fun, or the
Yeah,
whole
exactly.
they're all poking fun of everything that's going on in Marvel, which I really enjoyed. I like the fact that even though it's a Deadpool movie, but
Hmm.
it's almost like saying Marvel, Disney, the executives, Kevin Feige, they all sat down with Ryan Reynolds, and they're like, you know
Yeah.
what? Let's just have fun. Let's make a movie. Let's have fun. No holds bar. Who cares?
Yeah.
Let's poke fun at where we're at right now because we're sucking where we're at.
We're
Marvel,
floundering a little
the
bit. Yeah.
MCU is kind of like fuck, dude, it's almost done. It's almost over. The final curtain's coming down. Let's have one last hoorah, and
Yeah.
let's just have fun at it, you know. And I think that's where this movie is at.
I think I think Marvel's at a point where they're getting to the point where like they're saying, let's not worry so much about the story. What's gonna make us a ton of fucking money?
So they let Wade
And
Wilson go.
they brought in Deadpool, let him do all the cameos he wanted. They're recasting Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. Like let's just roll with what we know is gonna bring people back to the theaters. And I think that could be a good and bad thing. I think for me, I've always walked into Marvel movies going, I'm not walking into this for high cinema. I don't think anything is going to be Oscar worthy. I want to just sit down for two
Hey, they
hours
have
and turn
won
my brain
Oscars.
off.
We've talked about this. They've won at least two, three
Oh
Oscars
yeah,
now,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
even though not the
Well,
movies we ever expected because they were not. Anyways, we're not gonna go there. If you want, guys, you have
I
to go
guess
back and try. Fucking listen to those shits.
story wise, I'm not expecting anything Oscar worthy.
Yeah,
Other stuff for sure. I mean, like they blow it out of the water all the time. I mean, VFX wise, production design, everything like that. They put a lot of money in those films for good
dude,
reason.
they looked. I was so glad to see the blue and yellow.
Oh, dude, the suit.
The blue and yellow. Even though when he put the cow on, he looked a little
It
dorky.
was a little CG, and it
Yeah, it was
was
a little
like
dorky. It was like, bro, you should not have put the cow on. It's
I
okay.
think the shots where it was practical looked good. The shots where it was CG, it was just like, it's a CG face.
Yeah,
But the shots where it's actually him standing there with the cowl, it's a little dorky to see it in live action, but I think looks it looked good for what it looked about as good as it's gonna get for it being what it is.
yeah. I mean, comic
For
book.
as
We've all agreed the fact that everything in comic book does not translate well in the real world.
no. You know
Right?
what it did show though is that white eyes can work in a live action film. So let's give Batman fucking white eyes in the next movie, please. Uh, but because what did he call them in the movie? Blowjob handles. Uh,
Yeah.
I think for what that costume design is, it looked great in terms of we got a Wolverine in live action. Is it dorky? Is it a little weird? Doesn't make any sense. Yeah, but like it looked great. And so just having to be able to have the shots of Wolverine and Deadpool standing next to each other in full suit and all of that, it's just again, it's fan service. It was
Yeah.
great to watch. And then, they blow off Hugh Jackman's shirt and the audience went nuts again. I don't know about your theater, but my theater was cheering when his
Bro,
shirt came
I,
off.
I couldn't hear anything because Jennifer was like, and I was too. So anyways, we'll leave that alone.
but but no, but then the cameos too. I mean, like Blade looked great. I was not expecting Wesley Snipes to walk in that door at all because
No.
I thought he was done. Same thing with Jennifer Gardner as Elektra. Was not. I was
You
shocked
know,
with
to
that
see
one.
her back in the Electro suit was interesting.
Why
I
do you say
grew
that?
up with her in the Electro suit. So that was my first like
Yeah,
wow, Electra, you know?
yeah.
Um so to have that kid fantasy relived, I was like, she still looks good, but you could tell she's not my young version of Electra. Just like Wesley Snipes, I'm like, man, he's aged, dude, but he still looks good, you know? Again,
hmm
not the original guys that I grew up watching. Um,
But
and it's one of those like I'm glad to see them, but
mhm.
sometimes you don't want to see your heroes kind of like age, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where I think also one of the big peeves that everybody's talking about is like, well, how many times, to age 90? He kept saying
Oh yeah. He's till
he's
you're
like,
90.
are we really gonna see Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine till 90?
I hope not. I hope that line of him at the end where he's like, "I'll see you around," and he's like, "No." Like I hope
Yeah.
that was him just saying like, "Nope, that's it."
Yeah, I
Like,
gave you what you've been wanting for that. The one, team up. Here we go. That this is your one team up, brother.
yep. And then the other weird one was Channing Tatum as Gambit.
Where did that come from?
So that has been so Channing Tatum has been trying to play Gambit for fucking years since Origins came out and they brought Gambit out and they brought their version of Gambit in, which was kind of like a half-baked version of Gambit.
Yeah,
He's been trying to make a Gambit film. He like he loves that character. I don't know the whole story of him and that character, what that tie is, but there have been tons of just fan casting and just him trying to get that movie made for years. Like when he was obviously younger and like in Magic Mike like physique and
yeah,
everything like that, he was trying like nonstop trying to get that movie film made, and it never did. And they never made a Gambit film, and there was never any official talks of a Gambit film being made. So that's why the whole joke of him being like, "Oh, I think I was born here, and I don't know where I came from, but I've been here this whole time," kind of
yeah.
deal. Like that's where that kind of came from because he never had a movie. He doesn't have a universe. It's like John Krasinski's version of Fantastic Four. Everybody wanted it to happen, and this was, I think, that realization a little bit.
They should have left
The
it alone.
You think they should have left it alone? I think
His
visually it was
Asian
really
accent
cool.
is horrible.
And see, but I've seen a lot of people online talking about like that I guess that grew up in Louisiana and stuff like that, talking about like, oh yeah, no, he hit the Cajun dialect really well.
Did he?
I don't know because I mean it's a mix of that Bayou accent and French.
Yeah, that French Creole.
So yeah, the French Creole accent. So like, and apparently he grew up around that. I think he said I've heard
I
interviews where he's
guess,
from
yeah.
New Orleans. So I think it is kind of legit. I think the joke is that it's hard to understand. And so like I've seen interviews where he was talking about it, where he was saying like him and Sean Levy, like they did multiple takes where it's like, okay, like just go full in on like the Creole, like go as thick as you can, and then like the next one be like, okay, this time we need to understand you.
Yeah. Oh
And I
my
think there was that finding that middle ground kind of deal. For the first time I watched it, I was like, why? Why? I can see why they didn't make this movie. There's no way this would work for 2 hours. Like listening to that would work for
God.
2 hours. Um, I think visually it was cool. I've never been like a huge Gambit person, like fan. Don't
I
know
never
too
have it
much
either.
about his character. I know Gambit fans have been having a little bit of a renaissance between this movie and then the X-Men 97 cartoon that came out on Disney Plus this year, because I think he's a big play in that. But visually, it was a really cool character. The cowl's a little weird. I don't know. Again, it's one of those where it's really comic accurate. Don't
Yeah.
necessarily know if it works in live action, but it's I think it has the same issue as like the Batman Begins suit, where it's like
Yeah.
he can't turn his head. Uh, but oh, I mean, it was still cool to see in the sense of like, oh, we finally made this happen, even if it's only for like 30 minutes.
What you think of Calverine?
Wolverine. Oh my God. That one was unexpected. I was surprised. Apparently, it was another one of Ryan Reynolds, like, oh, he's in the area. Let's give him a call and see if he wants to do it. Um, but it was for the 5 seconds he's on screen, it definitely is one of those like, oh yeah, no, like this that in another universe, if they're trying to recast Wolverine to be another 6 foot dude, um, I could see Henry Cavill. I don't know. It's just weird. It's like build wise and everything, and like the voice, the attitude. I can see him pulling it off because it's essentially his Geralt voice from The Witcher,
Yeah.
and I can see him being that kind of like grumpy asshole kind of character. Just seeing his face with the mutton chops and everything, like
Big old cigar and
it's
everything.
so
Yeah.
it's so close to being like the actual thing, but then it's also just like, but that's like that's Superman. I don't know, like it's just weird. Like there's a disconnect.
Yeah. It is. It is one of those like, okay, you can only play one major superhero in a lifetime without having
Yeah,
crossover and just making it awkward for everybody else. At least in
yeah,
my eyes.
yeah. I think that's definitely what it is. Like he just was the face of DC for so long. I think trying to push him into a Marvel character, it's just kind of like, which I mean, he points it out as like, we treat you so much better than those
Yeah.
assholes down the street. Because Henry Cavill definitely got shafted by DC. You know, he
Dude, that was like the worst. And they haven't done anything yet.
no. Well, they just finished shooting Superman.
But they haven't done, remember when what's the name had announces like, oh, we're relaunching all of DCU, yada yada this stuff.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, then they, fired the whole thing, brought in James Gunn. Um, and
Anyway, we're not
then
talking about that. We're talking
we're
about
not talking about
movies.
that, but and then of course we got, 5'3" Deadpool or Wolverine, even though
Yeah,
he
comic
looked
accurate.
way shorter than 5'3" in that shot. He was like shorter than the bar, I
Yeah,
think.
I was like, is that really 5'3"? Like,
And then what other ones? We got Old Man Logan. We got uh the the brown suit Logan or Wolverine,
yeah,
which was also really cool to see him.
with the Hulk, which happened to just so happened to be what's his name? Then
The current one, Ruffalo,
yes, the current Hulk.
Ruffalo.
Yes,
Which yeah, I think I read somewhere that you can tell how much background stuff I read on different genres of film. Um, I think I read somewhere like yeah, they couldn't get Mark Ruffalo, so they just reused some old footage, which is
really.
why you never actually see his face.
Yeah, because it's a reflection.
Yeah, it's just the reflection and then over his shoulder. So it's like, yeah, they just reuse some old plates they had of him, I think. They didn't really worry about it too bad. Um, and then the other big one, which was Chris Evans, but not Steve Rogers. He was Johnny Storm again.
Johnny Storm, yeah. You know, I had totally forgotten about that until I saw him on there and he takes off the little
Yeah.
and he's like, Flame on. I'm like, oh yeah, he did play that. It took me a whole minute. My wife's like, she's like, you're stupid and you call yourself a comic book damn. I'm like, it's the movies. We haven't
It's been a
seen him
while.
in that aspect, since
Yeah.
he left and he became damn Captain America, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
America's ass,
And and I think now he's enjoying going back to playing kind of assholey characters. Uh, because it's been a while since I've seen those Fantastic Four films, but he feels like an even bigger douche than he did in those movies.
Yeah.
Um,
I know one of the biggest things was he enjoyed cursing.
yes.
Able to curse again.
Yeah, I think I saw somewhere where they were like they offered him cue cards for the end credit scene that he did,
Yeah.
where he says the whole slew of insults about Cassandra Nova that Deadpool put on him. And he was like, I never get to say this shit. I'm gonna be off book. So I think it was cool to see it was definitely a lot of fun to see those characters. And then, I don't think I didn't think about it as a cameo in the same sense. Maybe it's because it's a lot more recent, but seeing Laura X-23 come
I was
back.
glad they brought her back because I was hoping that after Logan, she would have taken up
Mhm.
the mantle.
Yeah.
And I think the resurgence of the rumor mills giving her the possibility of maybe surviving as
Hmm.
X-23 in the near future are rising up again. So who knows? We never know. Again, Marvel
Yeah.
MCU right now is on its head trying to figure out what they're gonna do next. So
We're about to get such a weird slew of multiverse stuff because we're getting Secret Wars and then
Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four and what is now Avengers Doomsday because Jonathan Majors had to go and fuck up his career. So they got rid of him, which means they scrapped the entire Kang storyline.
I thought that would have been a pretty good storyline to end up.
I don't know why they didn't just recast and why they're completely changing directions. But I mean, they put Harrison Ford in it. They recasted and put Harrison Ford after William Hurt passed away.
Yeah.
So I don't know what, and it's not the first time. I mean, it's not
I
the
mean,
first recasting we've had.
look at Iron Man.
Exactly, with Don Cheadle. I mean, taking over for I can't remember his name from the first one.
Yeah.
Uh, so I don't know why they didn't just recast, but I think it was funny to hear Deadpool just go like, I'm tired of the multiverse thing. Like it's just been miss after miss after miss. And I think it was nice to see Marvel just kind of poke fun at itself
Yeah.
and not take itself so seriously. Uh, after they struggled a lot with just like after Endgame, it felt like they were just trying to make the movies just as big and impactful as that one. And it's like you're like that was the issue with I don't know how in depth we talked about Eternals or if we did at all, but
I think we did, but none of us liked it. I know I didn't like it.
I know, yeah, I know a lot of people didn't like it, and I was like on it, but I think like I wasn't expecting it to be anything because it's like we're restarting after like the main like that was the whole point of the first 12 years of storytelling, and now we're in a new phase in a new setting, and so of course we have to start over, and it's gonna be slow and every like it wasn't like between 2008 and 2000 it took 4 years to get the first Avengers film. But
Yeah.
now they're like, okay, we're gonna do it every 2 years, and it's yeah, they're
You know
struggling
what?
to find their footing.
Even then, after Eternal, well, not after Eternals, but yeah, after Eternals, there's a lot of plot holes that never got addressed. So it was like
Mhm.
they made Eternals and they're like, let's just forget about that one and move
I
on.
mean, we're just now gonna touch on it again. With the new Captain America, they're finally gonna acknowledge the fact that there's a giant celestial sticking out of the earth, and
Yeah,
and
but
it's
come on,
been.
do you really want to go back to it after so many years that
I
you've
don't
already
think we're
done it?
gonna go back. I don't think we're gonna go back to it at all. But I think they finally acknowledge the fact that we can't keep ignoring that that's there, and this is a really good chance to bring in adamantium into the scene. And are we gonna get some other version of Wolverine? Or I mean, they're already bringing in mutants. They did it with Miss Marvel. First time they used the word mutant in the
Yeah.
MCU. So who knows what's coming next? All I know is that with this, and am I even expecting to see Deadpool ever again in the MCU? Not really, if I'm being realistic.
No.
Um, but it was a good way of again just kind of saying bye to Fox because it needed to be put to bed.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't think they've had a successful Marvel film in years. And
No,
after
not
they
wow.
sold off everything, and other than the Deadpool films, I think those were the only ones that they were doing well box office wise. So it was a good way of just saying, like, yep, these are all Marvel properties now, and you're not going to see the same faces ever again. It's it's not our deal anymore. Because even with the credit sequence of playing all the behind the scenes footage from all the different Marvel, like
X-Men.
X-Men and even the Fan Four Stick remake with the Miles Teller and Michael B. Jordan and all that.
Yeah.
They even stuck some of those in there too, which is like they didn't even bring up those movies, but still, you know, gave them their respect as Fox Marvel movies. So, but I enjoyed the hell out of it. I was laughing my ass off the first time I saw it and cheering with the rest of the theater, which is not something I normally do, but some of those cameos really just surprised the hell out of me. So,
It was a really well done movie for what it's worth.
yeah.
So overall, what are you gonna give it?
Again, I'm gonna give it a solid 4. I think it was well done fan service. It was again one of those where I got to turn my brain off for 2 hours and just kind of enjoy just action comic book film and not think about anything else and just worry about what's on the screen. And whenever a movie's able to make me do that and make me forget, turn off like the film study brain and stop thinking, looking at things like a movie, which
Yeah.
like even like going like back to earlier, like with Romulus, like I was studying parts of the film rather than like just watching the movie.
Yeah.
I was able to just watch the movie for what it was, and I that's always a good time. What about you? Out of
Oh man, it's hard because little 13-year-old David gets excited when Wolverine comes around. And Hugh Jackman and my wife picked on me when we saw this movie. She's like, I remember when the first time you ever saw a Wolverine movie, you say, that's not Wolverine, da da da. He's too tall. I was just complaining left and right. And I saw the movie and I was like, okay, maybe I'll give him a shot. 20 years later, I'm like, there's nobody else that could ever play this motherfucking role. He was born to be Wolverine. So every time I get to see him in the outfit or popping the claws, I'm like, yeah, little David's like, yeah. Um, so for once, I'm actually gonna give it a 4.5. It's not a quite a
Okay.
five,
Yeah, no,
but
it's not quite a five.
4.5, just
Yeah.
because the fan service for me, at least on the Wolverine side, is
Oh
there.
yeah.
And I got to see all the little excerpts of the different Wolverines that there are in his timeline because he's got many lives, anyways.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, 4.5, man.
It was a solid movie. And I'm grateful that was kind of like the summer blockbuster of the year.
Yeah.
I think there wasn't really another one that I think came close to that one. Um, so yeah, overall, that was a good one, and I think a good way of bringing us back to sitting down and talking about movies again.
Well, hopefully he's not the last, but who
No, no,
knows?
no.
I'm not gonna make any plans. So if we're here to next week, whatever, cool. If not, hey, hopefully we'll get to see you again. And I'm kind of cutting you off because we are running out of time.
No, yeah, for sure.
We've
Yeah,
been
that's why I was
talking
trying
close to like
to.
those 2 hour blocks, and I'm like, fuck, dude, we for
Yeah.
once we actually talked that long. But either way, if we're here next week, that's awesome. Like I said, just some
Yes.
kind of normalcy.
Yes, exactly.
But until then,
I am AJ,
and I'm David. Till next
and this was
time,
film. This is Film Noobs.
film news. Keep watching film, guys. We'll see
Yep.
you next week, hopefully. If not, next year. For our
Peace.
annual our annual
Our annual.
review. All right, guys. Peace.
Peace.
Oh, no, wait, that's not the button I want.